We keep hearing the Iowa football offense is going to be better in 2024. Are we to believe the rhetoric? All today, Locked On Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts, and you can also find us on YouTube. While you're there, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. If you're on the audio side, 5-star reviews. Greatly appreciate each and every one of you that are able to help us out. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, last week we saw an article over at CBS Sports. Tom Fornelli, though he's an Illini, a big college football writer, Cover 3 podcast, a very good one, and a guy that knows the sport and certainly knows Big Ten football. He's watched a lot of it throughout the years. And though there's been shade thrown at Iowa at times, and deservedly so after what we've seen over the last 2.5 seasons of football offensively, and it's the conversation that has been out there. This Iowa Hawkeye offense, how much better can they actually be in 2024? Brian Ferentz is out. Tim Lester is in. It was a prolonged search to find a new offensive coordinator. We now see Paul Chryst is no longer with Texas as an analyst there. That is odd. Just a lot of oddities that are out there as the way this played out. There were hurt feelings. There was disappointment. Kirk Ferentz, I think we all could agree, he wanted an ascension plan that never was able to get off the ground. It never worked with Brian Ferentz at the highest level as an offensive coordinator. And though there were moments, in the end, it wasn't good enough. And the way that it cratered over the last couple of seasons, it was awful. So there's these articles out here. And last week, Chad Leistikow from the Des Moines Register, he had an article and did a podcast talking with Liddell Betts a little bit. And he basically said up front, this is going to be the Shanahan offense. They went to Green Bay. They learned from LaFleur and company. This is going to be what the Packers run a season ago where Tim Lester was. This is going to be an offshoot of the Kyle Shanahan offense. And that gets you excited. And it gets you excited because, well, we see how well it can work. We see with those kind of concepts what it can do. And it's an ability to put people in motion, change the offense, and with it, change the look that defenses are going to get. And that's one thing that became so frustrating over the last couple of seasons of watching this Iowa offense is they weren't good. Blocking was bad. Quarterback play was atrocious. There were a lot of bad elements. They couldn't keep a wide receiver on campus. There was just so many issues that were there. But you coupled it with the inability or the unwillingness to try something different, to do different things. The scripted plays, for the most part, were okay. But when the bullets were flying, in-game situations, having to adapt and change, it wasn't there. And it just continued to do the same things that weren't working over and over again. There was no script. There was no idea. There was no pattern that they could get into. And when that pattern went awry after your scripted plays, it completely fell apart. And instead of what can we do to improve this, it came down to the old tried and true excuse that we've heard from Kirk Ferentz and the staff throughout the years. Just have to execute. And at one level, you understand that. Yes, execution is a huge part of this. However, when you're not executing and maybe you just physically can't execute, you have to do different things. And they didn't do that. Tim Lester comes with a fresh set of ideas, an ability to do things in a different way. And one of the biggest angles is pre-snap motion. Just moving guys around, putting a wide receiver in motion, flexing a running back out, doing different things and changing the eyes of the defense. Iowa was so bad at that and has been historically so bad at that in the Kirk Ferentz era. It's something that had to change. My concern when the Lester hire was announced that it was just going to be another guy that is going to do it, quote unquote, Kirk's way. From everybody that has talked, that is not the case. Now, the question for me is this: how quickly can you change an offense? How quickly can you put in the necessary changes that have to happen? You have to change what they're doing and do it at a big time level. And going from the old system to what they are new, how quickly are they going to be able to catch up? But as we go through all these maturations and we talk about all these different things and we get ready for the excitement and the excitement that is there, 19 starters coming back this season, 19 starters back, some of the most in all of college football, coming off a 10-win season, coming off a division championship. With all those positive things, we know in order to compete at the highest level, they have to be not just better, decidedly better. Can you do it this quickly when you're really revamping all that you do on the offensive side? And saying all this, here's the one area it doesn't matter. All this rhetoric, all the ink spilled, all the audio that you listen to, all of those different things. It's not going to matter one iota if the offensive line isn't better. If this offensive line does not take a huge step forward this season, we're going to be having the same conversations. We're going to be talking about the same things. And it's frustrating. It is one that you're left just kind of pondering. Can these guys take a big step forward? We've seen Mason Richmond. We've seen Logan Jones. We've seen Connor Colby. We've seen Jennings Dunker. We've seen all of these guys, and at best, they're okay. And you put a bunch of, at best, okay guys together, well, certainly it has not worked out well here over the last couple of years. We know that. It's been ugly. But everything we say is not going to matter if this offensive line doesn't take a step forward, takes a monster step forward. There's no new coach there. We'll see if this new system maybe will work better. Health is also a component that I think is going to be important of what we're going to see out of this group, but they have to be better up front. Without that, it's going to be another frustrating year watching this Iowa offense. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com joins us. We'll talk about everything going on in the world of the Hawkeyes. We got a lot happening on the football front. We got the basketball front. Tons of conversation, everything Hawkeyes, and with one of the best in the business. Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. He joins us as we continue. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. I have a small business. Finding people that I need to help me make things happen is incredibly difficult. Time is money, and if you don't have those resources, it can be incredibly difficult to find those right people. LinkedIn Jobs has helped me when the time calls. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps hire for professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but they could be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. Not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking on the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows small businesses has so much going on. You might not have the time or even the resources to make that right hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They just launched a feature that's going to help you write job descriptions, making the process even faster and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Once again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Good to talk to you, Tom Kakert. Pretty good media day lined up, 23rd, 24th in Indianapolis. Iowa goes right in the middle of that 3-day set. Iowa, Michigan State, Nebraska, Penn State, UCLA, and USC. That's not a bad group of, 6 teams. 6 teams in one day. But when you got 18, that's what you got to do. It's a pretty good group, Tom. You'll be busy that day.
Yeah, I'll be busy doing the Iowa stuff mainly. But, I think it's interesting that we got USC and UCLA that day, too. Just from the perspective that Iowa's playing UCLA that day. So it can...
We lose you? You there?
But,
there you go.
We'll do without it.
Yeah,
be okay.
An off season, mentioned this to you a week ago. It's been really quiet. Freshmen on campus now. Workouts are going on. Do we at least have a inkling of where Cade McNamara is? It sounded like he was going to be ready to go kind of at this point in time. What's the latest on the quarterback? Him getting back out there, and though he didn't get a spring practice, an opportunity now during these summer workouts to get some reps in and understanding exactly everything going on with this new offense.
Yeah, everything I've heard is that he's all systems go now, and that everything seems like it's functioning well, and that he's moving around well, and so it's a real positive. They just got going like this week, really, with anything. So it's really early, but I'm a little bit more optimistic about this team. I just keep looking at the schedule, and I'm just like, wait, if they can just have some sort of offense,
right?
That's some sort of offense is you're going to be favored in 11 to 12 games. Probably.
I think so. I don't think that's unfair. I thought the schedule makers, when it's all said and done, you look at some of the other schools. I thought Iowa caught a break schedule wise. Tom, certainly could have been worse.
Yeah, but you know what I think helps them too is you get the 3 games where you're guaranteed those opponents. Yeah. So it just cuts down on the number of times you can get a Penn State or a Michigan or USC in a year. Although there are some of those in there too for Iowa. They're
or Ohio State,
Michigan, and USC.
Yeah. Not going to be easy. What are your expectations this year for Washington?
I am not as high on them as I am as I think a lot of people are. I'm just not. I think they lost a ton.
Trent's the same way as you, by the way.
Yeah.
I think they could end up being 6-6, kind of 7-5.
Yeah,
I like their coach. I like Jed Fish, but boy, they lost a lot, and they lost some stuff that ended up going to Alabama, and it's just that's a school that it's not like they were. Well, we got 25 4-stars coming in, that can play right away. It's not like that.
It's not. And it's a team that'll be making their way to Kinnick. I was initially hoping that would be maybe a night game inside of Kinnick. Yeah, we get the Black Friday one, but having that one, but looking at the schedule that week, all the other Big Ten games, Scott Docterman mentioned this to us. They're all teams, the new Pac-4 that make their way in. They have big home games. You can't put them at 11 a.m. Central Time. That'll be 9 a.m. out there. So looks like a likelihood that'll be the big noon kickoff game at 11 a.m. with Iowa and Washington. That comes up on October 12th. Before that, though, non-conference schedule. Illinois State, FCS team. I remember the year they were some people's preseason number 1. I would just ran them off the field in that one. Iowa State after that, and then Troy. Troy won double-digit games last year. Iowa State certainly was a whole lot different team than what we saw in September a year ago. It doesn't have a ton of oomph to it, but it's a pretty tricky non-conference schedule even before we get into conference play.
Well, Troy lost their coach, and they lost a lot of their players.
Did they?
So, their coach moved on, got a better gig. I think Troy's going to be down a little bit from what they were. So I would suspect that, obviously the big test is Iowa State, who, Lindy's has Iowa State top 25.
Do they really?
Yeah, they have 24.
A lot of returning starters.
I know.
Including a quarterback.
Offense. Yeah. And Rocco got better as the season went on. He's got some weapons.
Yep. It comes down to offensive line play with them, I think.
Yeah.
As it does most years for them.
As long as it's not snowing in September, their run game might not be as good. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Boy, Sama was unbelievable in Manhattan that final night of the race. Oh, and then just the visual of the snow and his staying on the field. That was something to behold, no doubt about it. What's your concern, Tom, about the Hawkeyes?
I just put up a podcast today in fact, this morning, talked to Calvin Bell for about an hour or so, just talking about the defensive line and just kind of maybe lack of depth up there, maybe a little bit, a little unproven. You like the 4 starters. You think that's a good group, but, Pittman's going to be their 3rd D tackle. So how good is he? Max Wellen's going to get his shot as being the 3rd defensive end, but, we talked about Brian Allen a lot, and who had a great kids day and looks the part, but the consistency hasn't been there. So that just, I think that's a concern up front. And then the offensive line, the offensive line, can they stay healthy? Can they develop more? Those are the huge question marks right now for Iowa.
It's a monster one, and it's been a conversation what we've been having for years. There's been individual pieces, but the continuity there. What about this new offensive scheme kind of going hand in hand with that offensive line? I don't know, simpler is the right term, but just a different way. I remember Kirk mentioning that, and he said he's learning kind of the things like that. What we're going to see out of the run game and just blocking in general, because let's be frank, it hasn't worked, not just the last couple of years, it hasn't worked at a high level in a decade plus.
Yeah, and it sounds like, just based on, and you saw a couple of weeks ago during OTAs, and Kirk Ferentz and Tim Lester and everybody's up at Green Bay, and it sounds like they're running that Green Bay offense, or kind of the Shanahan type offense is what they're going to run, and that's a really good offense. Yeah. It really is, especially when you have Kyle Shanahan calling it. It's really good.
Yeah,
they will not have him calling it, but if Tim Lester can get some of that stuff going. I'll just say this, and just talking to some of the guys on defense, just running into them, talking to them about different things. They were really, really impressed by what they saw from the offense. It was just stuff that they hadn't seen before, and that they were worn out, and that's a good defense. And when that defense is getting worked a little bit by an offense, that kind of tells you something. So it's going to be, I'm really intrigued by the offense. I think I mentioned this like last week. I'd hate to be Illinois State. Because they're going to get handed one, because they're going to try and put a 100 up on them just to kind of show everybody that the offense works. And that's one of those team total games, guys.
Okay.
It's a team total.
Good to know. Total. Who's the team on the schedule, Tom, that everybody has looked at? Oh, that's an easy win. Who's the team? Not saying that I was going to struggle or lose to, but it's not going to be the cakewalk that most feel that it is. Minnesota?
Oh, yeah. Or Nebraska. I may be proven wrong. Starting to get bullish on Nebraska.
So are Trent and I. So are Trent and I.
Just kind of say, and his Rule's reputation is year two. He takes a pretty significant jump, and their schedule, and you look at that schedule, they may be undefeated.
7-8-0, yes.
By the time they face the Buckeyes.
Yep.
I mean,
that's October 26th.
Yeah. Like you may be getting close to Halloween before.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine that fan base?
UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana. Where's the loss, right? And maybe then Ohio State.
Maybe Rutgers. Rutgers is maybe their toughest game.
Yeah, Rutgers is going to be pretty good.
I'm with you, Shano.
Defensively.
Yep,
yeah.
I'm with you. But that's 6-1, 7-0 all day long to me. Maybe Colorado. My over games in Lincoln.
I think that's going to be the one where everybody kind of goes, Nebraska. Huh?
Okay. All right. NBC, prime time.
Yeah. I think they might hang one on them.
Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report. Hey, Tom, want to jump into basketball. I saw you had a little post up on your message board. Summer workouts have begun for the men's basketball team, and said Chris Taggio is as delivered. Size, power, athleticism. Little buzz starting already for the freshmen.
Yeah. Talked to some people, and they were like, hey, he's as advertised, if not better, at least a couple workouts in, where you just like, this kid's got, there's something there. Now, can he play in Big Ten right away and really be dynamic there? Pump the brakes a little bit, but it's at least something that it's not like he got sold a lemon here, where
right.
A kid from Canada, and you just wonder. And
well, I don't.
Like he's good. Well, Trent's fired up, Ken's fired up.
That's
too, right?
Yes, I am.
Those Canadian basketball players,
absolutely can't get enough of them. Every team should have one or two on their roster.
Leo Routens, let's get Leo Routens out there.
Away we go. Hey, speaking of basketball, I wanted to ask you this. Coleman Hawkins put up 30 against Iowa. But other than that, Tom, he didn't. I mean, he's okay. He's okay. But is he $2 million worth of vote? If that number's legit, and there's speculation that we never know for sure, but that's the number that's tossed around. A little bit north of $2 million is what K-State is going to pay Coleman Hawkins to spend his final year in Manhattan, Kansas. I don't think that elevates K-State into the upper echelon of the Big 12 by any means. But is he a $2 million player in your mind, Tom? The Iowa game aside?
No.
Right.
No. I mean, it's not like they picked up senior year Luca Garza, or somebody like that. That would be like a $2 million player, the guy who was, or Zach Edey last year, somebody like that. Just, a dominant player. But that's wild. But that's just that's supply and demand speaking, right? That they needed another big, and he can just throw and say, well, I'll come here if you give me $2 million. Okay, we'll give you $2 million. Who knew they had that much cash in the Little Apple?
Right.
What's going on down there?
Somebody's got a big checkbook that they're opening up.
Because they got that. They bought that the running back too. The kid who was at Colorado.
Did they?
Brought him. Yeah, they got him recently too, and they got several other basketball players. So, maybe it's Jerome Tang's charming personality that drives the Cyclone fans nuts, and a big wallet that gets you players.
How is saw the Swarms coming out with Exile with a vodka soda coming up here in the coming weeks?
That'll do great.
How are things going? I know Brad and you talk quite often. How are things going here in summertime? It's got to be more difficult at this point in time. There's no games. There's no excitement trying to get those new people in. What's the latest on the Swarm?
Yeah, I think everything's going well, but it's just, I just don't think he's broke through to those season ticket holders to the level that he wants. If you got 25,000 season ticket holders and you only got about 400 or 500 of those guys signed up to be Swarm members, it's hard. But, I think you just build brick by brick and try to keep spreading it and get out there. I will mention this, like Monday, there's a really cool Swarm event if you drive on the eastern side of Iowa, the I-80 truck stop, the world's largest truck stop that everybody goes by when you're going to Chicago on I-80. Will Moon and his group are going to have Jay Higgins and Jackson and Caleb Brown, and I think Josh Dix is going to be there, Luke Lachey, a bunch of players, and are going to be there signing autographs for a couple hours and hanging out with people. So, those are the kind of opportunities you're getting from the Swarm.
Last thing, Tom, I believe Jen Jensen held her first practice as head coach. Did you talk to Lucy Olson? Is that what I gathered?
Yeah, we
podcast
we had her on our podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had her, and we had did one with Taylor McCabe as well, and they're both really good. The Taylor McCabe one's really excellent. I mean, she talks in depth about almost leaving Iowa after last year because she just wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and Lucy was great. They're raving about Ava Hayden, one of the freshmen coming in, and so they're both like gym rats. So they're both in the gym. But Lucy, the first day she gets there, she just says, "Taylor, get me into the gym." So they just want to get shots up. So they're both kind of like that, where they just want to get in the gym and get work in.
Good stuff, Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 Media Network. Tom, great stuff. Talk to you in a week. Anything you got coming up you'd like to promote?
Nothing, just those really fun podcasts. I mean, we had, you guys had Pat on.
Yes, thank you for that, by the way.
We did a little pod with Pat. We did one yesterday with Taylor and Lucy, and just posted one with Kelvin Bell. Going to have Tristan Spurlock is going to be on Sunday. So he's going to talk, and he's the development coach for University of Iowa basketball. So we can talk about some of the other workouts and what he's seen from some of those players so far.
Good stuff. We'll look for those. We'll talk to you in a week's time. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Have a good week.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Good to talk to you. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com.
Always appreciate Tom Kakert's time for joining us on the pod. We continue. He mentioned the Iowa women's basketball team. What's the buzz like after Jan Jensen gets her first practice? What is some of the conversation coming out of summer camp with the Iowa women's basketball team? We'll talk about that as we continue. Locked On Hawkeyes. Summertime means baseball. With Stanley Cup Finals, still another game to go tonight and a whole lot more, and you can bet on all of it over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You heard that right. $200 in bonus bets with a winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use on everything, from betting on the Conn Smythe Award winner, MVP in baseball. Maybe you're taking a look forward to futures in college football, the NFL. They have you covered at FanDuel. Right now, you think the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to make the college football playoff in year number 1 of the 12 team? You can get them at plus 680 to make the college football playoff. And there's a whole bunch up there as well. The win total sits at 7.5. You think Iowa's going to be 8-4 better? I certainly do. You bet the over. And if they do, you will cash in those winnings. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's where you need to visit right now. FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Wrapping things up here with a little Iowa women's basketball talk. And as Tom Kakert from Hawkeye Report mentioned, a lot of good podcasts happening also over on his site. Tom does a great job and had an opportunity to talk with Lucy Olson. I thought that was a really good listen, hearing Lucy Olson, the incoming transfer from Villanova, and what she's looking to do. Now, she's a different type of point guard than what we've grown accustomed to over the last 4 years of Caitlin Clark, and seeing what she's doing now at the WNBA level. It's going to be a different look. She is not the deep three-point shooter that we see with Caitlin Clark. She is more of a player that likes to get into the paint. Pull-up game, very strong. That is a big part of it. Now working on knocking down those shots from the outside. Also great to hear Taylor McCabe. Taylor McCabe is a player I thought last season. Now, there weren't a whole lot of hiccups throughout the course of the year, but they were there. And I believe that Taylor McCabe, with her ability to shoot the basketball, that she should have seen at least a little more playing time a year ago. Can't argue with the results. Played for the national championship for the second consecutive year, but she's obviously going to have a bigger role this season. And in that bigger role, she has to be more of a player than what she was the last 2 seasons. Just basically come in, spot up shooter. There needs to be more elements to her game, because it's pretty easy to quickly cover up a player like that that is looked at as one-dimensional. At the high school level, that was not the case. Taylor McCabe was a player that could go and take big steps forward, and you certainly saw that. Some more buzz coming out has been Ava Hayden, and the potential that the freshman coming in from Oregon, 6'4", that she very well could be the starter for this team. And if she is a starter with this squad, you got a backcourt of likely Lucy Olson and Taylor McCabe. We know that Sydney Falter is going to be in there, and Hannah Stolke, and looking for that 5th starter. If it is Ava Hayden, going back to your more traditional post player, something that they went away from last season, playing Hannah Stolke at the 5 position, but also what that means for Stolke and her ability to shoot it from the outside a little bit more, be that elite athlete that we know she is, such a great rim runner and what she does there, but maybe adding some more elements, and also what this team could be on the defensive end of the floor when you put a couple of bigger players out there, coupled with a Fulcher, who is just such a tough, heady player and certainly plays bigger than her frame. You put those 3 together and what that can look like. Going to be fun. Always is with this team. And year number 1 at Jan Jensen, there's going to be a step back, but I don't think as significant as many people nationally maybe hope or expect with the Hawkeye women's basketball team. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We got a lot more coming your way this week. David Eicholt from 24/7. He's going to be stopping by. We'll hear from Eicholt and a whole lot more as we talk Hawkeyes. Football buzz continues to pick up on Tuesday. An ability to hear from some of the players. We will get into that also as the week progresses. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Also want to let you know about a great thing we have going on with Locked On. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's on YouTube, and now it's also available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. It's called Locked On Sports Today, and it's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here. Make sure you hit us up with a 5-star review or give us a like if you're watching on YouTube. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Go Hawks.